Hello! Welcome! Would it be weird if I just spent the whole video doing this? Yes, it would be weird, and we don't have time for that. I'm Dave from Fantasy Basketball Analyzer, and thanks for clicking. Today we're going to talk about the waiver wire to get you ready for Week 5. If you didn't see it, I did my normal schedule breakdown video as its own video again. I will link it here right now. In that video, I talked about some players that I really liked for this week, or at least for a long shot. My favorite of those is probably Emmanuel Quickley. So I compared him to my pick for Hamidou Diallo the prior video, which is I really liked him as a kind of low risk, high reward option. I don't have a ton of faith that it's going to happen, but I think he's got a higher ceiling to help you all season long than some of these just weekly stream options. So it depends on what you're looking for your team. If you want to know more about that, check out the video. The other guys I named on there, Lonnie Walker, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I like a lot. Probably more than most of the people I'm going to mention on this list. Royce O'Neal for schedule reasons. I don't need to rehash it all, but check it out in that video. The only thing I want to kind of take back a little or tap the brakes, we'll say. I mentioned Melton just because I liked D'Anthony Melton, just because I liked Memphis's weekly schedule. But Ja Morant's back, Ja Morant's back. But Melton only got 12 minutes, which surprised me a little bit. So I might want to cool it on that a little bit. I wasn't crazy pushing it anyway. I think it's fine, but I don't think it's crazy. All right. Last week I did the waiver show, mixing in the news as we went through it. This time I'm going to try and group them by ownership percentages to kind of help people go through their deeper leagues. But first, I do want to just touch on the news. I already said it. Ja came back last night, which was awesome, and he looked like himself, and he played a lot, and it was great. You probably already know it, but in case you didn't come across it, because Caris LeVert was tied up in those trades, and he went to Indiana, and I'm excited about his potential there with the Pacers. Someone asked about this, but the problem is during the physical, they found out that he's got a mass on his kidney, which on the human aspect is a great thing that they made the trade, because otherwise it might have been missed. He wouldn't have been scheduled necessarily for a league physical. And so they caught this thing. So hopefully, everything's good. They can do the surgery or whatever. And that he, as a person, is healthier because they caught this. For fantasy, it's a bit disappointment because I really liked that move. So I'm not ready to quite cut bait on LeVert. But he's out indefinitely. We don't really have a timeline. So I understand it if you don't want to hang on to it. In other news, Kemba Walker is supposed to come back today as of recording on Sunday for Boston, which will be pretty exciting. A lot of people have been hanging on to him for a long time. Looks like he's going to have a 20-minute cap, and I assume going forward he won't play on back-to-backs. The sound from last season and before that is it seems like his knee issue is probably degenerative knee issue, and I imagine that for the rest of his career, not that his career is done, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to go too far, but I imagine that they're going to have to really monitor that and limit it going forward throughout the regular season, because right or wrong, the Celtics have big postseason aspirations, and they want him ready for that. They don't want him hurting as he's coming back to the bubble like he was last time. All right, enough of the news, let's get into it. These guys are too high. I try and cover people below 50% owned or deeper. These guys are too high, but give a look. Tyrese Maxey, he's at 52%. He's still getting play. He didn't get traded. So I'd give him a look. It's not going to be as huge of upside as it was, going into last week when we thought, oh boy, a bunch of people are out. He's going to get a ton of minutes because then some games didn't get played. But I'd still think Maxey's worth a look right now, even if he's not going to do this all season. And Cam Reddish is at 54%, and he just missed a game, but actually went up a couple ticks on rosters. So I like both those guys. They're a little bit higher, so we're not going to go too far, but take a look. See if they're available. They might be worth an ad if somehow they're out there for you. All right, moving on to the shallower league names. These guys are rostered in about 50% of leagues, but they're just a little bit under. Norm Powell has dropped to 48% rostered, and that makes sense. People have been really frustrated by him this year, but he just came off a 24-point game with 6 3-pointers. So there's a good chance that you're going to get some threes and probably some steals consistently from him. if he's available in about half the leagues, he's worth a look. His shooting percentage has been rough, and so people have been ready to move on. But, you might need him, especially if you're a team that like lost Nurk or something, and you're looking for someone to at least play, in your big man slots, even if it's not necessarily getting you like the rebound block big man type stats. Next up is Kelly Olynyk. He's rostered in 45% of leagues. He played really well this last week, and I used him in a few leagues. But that was when Miami was like decimated with COVID. So I want to temper expectations a little bit. You can get him in about half the leagues, like I said, but he just played and he got 24 minutes, so it should be fine. The stat line was 3 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Like, that's not going to wow you too much. It's not, the 15-8 or the 12-6 that he had the prior couple games. I still think he'll be in the rotation. I guess with a caveat of Eric Spoelstra likes to screw with the rotation a lot at the start of the season. That's something we see. So maybe that'll change, but right now there's no indications. So I think Olynyk is worth a look if you're trying to find a big man. He'll give you a little bit of everything, but I do want to temper the expectations. Last night's game, like I said, he played 24 minutes, which is still good, but Bam, Dragic, Nunn, Harkless, Acapella, Haslam, if it matters. All of those guys are back from Miami, so they're not at full strength yet, but they're on that road to it. So his red hot high ceiling is tempered down a little bit. Last in this group is Eric Gordon. He's rostered in 42% of leagues. I mentioned him in the video last week just as touched on him. He missed last night's game, the first game without, post the Harden trade and all the moves. So we didn't really get to see what it was going to look like, but I think there's a real opportunity here for Eric Gordon. At 42% rostered, you can get him in almost 2/3 of the leagues. You can get it in 6/10. I'm doing basic math. But I think he's definitely worth the pickup. I would go look, see who you have to cut, because Eric Gordon has the chance to be very valuable for you this season, more so than the other guys I already mentioned in this group. All right, the next grouping of players is more, they're available in 2/3 of leagues, so 33% less. And right after I say that, I'm immediately cheating, because the first guy I have in this group is Delon Wright. He's actually rostered in 35% of leagues, so he's just over that cusp. But I definitely think he's worth a look. The shooting percentage has been bad, and Detroit hasn't been great, so it's been easy to kind of write off. But he does contribute for sure in certain areas, right? The last box score was 8 points, 4 rebounds, but he got you 10 assists with 2 threes and a block. So the 42% is not great. It's a lot better than the 10% he shot from the floor against Milwaukee a few games ago. But even in that game with the really bad shooting percentage, and 3 points, he still got 8 rebounds and 7 assists. So you can plug him in if you're looking for assists at your small forward slot, and he's pretty widely available. He's worth a look, but it's going to depend on your needs for sure. Another guy that's going to depend on your needs that I'd give a look is Nerlens Noel. If you're looking for those big man stats, which I've already said a couple times on this video, but he's going to get you good steals, he's going to get you blocks, and maybe not a lot else. He's only getting 15 to 17 minutes a game. He's going to play today, Sunday, so you can give a look. There was a worry about back spasms keeping him out, but it looks like he's going to play against Boston. So you can take a look and see how he did. He's rostered in 30% of leagues, so if you want to grab him in a daily change league and plug him in just for those defensive stats, I think he's worth a look. At the other end of things, Cole Anthony, rostered in 30% of leagues. I was pretty cool on him a week or so ago, despite expecting his minutes to be big. And the minutes have been big. He's been getting nearly 30 minutes a game, and he's doing really well. I have thought throughout this that he would have more of an impact for the Magic on the court than your fantasy team. Part of that was I was really concerned about his shooting percentage, and it has been a bit up and down. If we go back to January 9th, he shot 25% against Dallas, and that's not going to be great, especially because when he does that, he's only going to get you 8 points. And I assume that he's going to have the green light there to shoot a lot. So I do think in your categories league that this could be a real drag on your percentage, but I already mentioned Delon Wright, so I can't bash this too much. If he's getting you 16 points, 8 assists, which is exactly what he just got against Brooklyn, that's worth a roll of the dice. Every game's not going to be that, because sometimes it's going to be 12 and 1 assist or 15 points and 3 assists. So don't go crazy for it. But if you grab him and you're happy with these levels, I think this is what we're going to see all season from him. And he's widely available, so take a look. Up until now, everyone I've mentioned has been playing 4 games because we're getting ready for week 5, right? But I mentioned him in the other video. I still really like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He only has 3 games, so that's the exception. But I think there's potential upside for all season, although it's a crowded situation there with the guards, kind of like I talked about in the other video with Emmanuel Quickly. So I like if we will. If you can grab Alexander Walker, I think there's a chance that he's going to give you a bit more all season, but it's not going to be consistent, right? The 37 and 8 that we saw 2 games ago probably isn't coming back at all this season. So like, don't, let your eyes get as big as cartoon characters or something as you grab him. But the 12, 3, and 2 that he got, like, there's a possibility that he's going to do more than that as the season goes on. And this week, while he's only playing 3 games, he's playing on the low volume days. So you can get him, plug him in on Tuesday and Thursday in your daily change league. So I think he's worth an ad right now. Even if his games aren't great, if they're the 12, 3, and 2 variety, they're not going to kill you because he shot 62%. So you're going to be able to plug him in, have no regrets, and then see where we are at the end of the week with him. Switching back, looking at a couple more big men here in this group. They're even more widely available. We've now gotten to like 20% ownership level. Willie Cauley-Stein, he's getting big minutes for Dallas right now. Even with Porzingis back, he still played 30 minutes. He got 11 and 11. The game before, he only got 4 points, but he got you 14 rebounds and 3 blocks. So I think you could feel pretty safe playing Willie Cauley-Stein and getting like reliable big man stats, even if it's not always a double-double. Rostered in only 18% of leagues. I'm pretty surprised by that. Maybe people were nervous about it, but I'd go ahead and add him now. It's worth mentioning that like Maxey Kleber and Dwight Powell are both still on the ineligible play because they're on the COVID list. So things might change when they get back. But if he keeps doing this, he might still be the starting center as he is right now. And that's worth a look. Next up is PJ Tucker. He was rostered in 21% of leagues. He's got 4 games this week, but he didn't do a lot in the first game that we saw. He might be more a bridge between this group that I'm saying, hey, is worth a look in 2/3 of leagues, and my next group where I'm going to fire off names of just flag these guys for your watch list. PJ Tucker he's not going to score a ton for you. He's going to get you some like a 3 and some blocks and steals depending on the night, which is valuable, but maybe not more valuable than anyone else you could play in that spot. There's the good chance that he might be the next piece to move out of Houston. And depending on the situation and the minutes, if Minnesota trades for him or whatever, there could be a situation here where you like him a bit more. So just keep an eye on PJ Tucker. You can grab him now if you want. It's a 4-game week, but I don't want you to go too crazy. And then that takes me to my last group. The guys I'm just saying, hey, put them on your watch list. They're pretty widely available, but I don't know that they're going to light down fire yet. Take a look at Harry Giles. See if he starts getting more minutes, right? We talked about in the last video, in his Cantor needs to be owned everywhere just because he's going to get a bunch of minutes with Nurkic out. So Harry Giles could see an uptick. We haven't seen it yet. Give it a look. Patrick Williams has had a couple solid games for the Bulls. If you pick him up, he's been solid. Otto Porter might be coming back, but I don't expect that to change too much, which is a little surprising. But just keep watching him. You can plug and play it if you need to. And Precious Achiuwa is rostered in 24% of leagues, and he did well, but I already talked about Miami was really short-handed because they had a bunch of players ineligible to play. So he did well in that stint, but I imagine his minutes are going to come right back down. It's just a matter of, hey, did he show something else in those games that maybe he can be a bigger part of it? I don't expect any of these guys to have a huge impact right now, but flag them if something changes in between me doing the videos or gives you something to look at, so maybe you can be quick on the draw and jump on them. Beyond that, I hope you saw the video I did yesterday breaking down the schedule. Once again, the link's here. And otherwise, thanks for watching. Go out and win your week.